Thanks for joining me as we daydream, doodle, and draw together. You only need a few supplies for this. You can use whatever you have, but here are some basics that I suggest. A sketchbook, any size sketchbook. You can even make one. I'll show you how to make a simple one at the end of this video. Crayons, those are an awesome tool. Did you know that crayons are not just for kids? All kinds of adult artists love using crayons. They're so easy to find. You probably already have them. Lots of colors to choose from, and you can blend with them and do all kinds of fun things. So those are a great tool to have. Drawing pencils, both the regular graphite kind and colored. In addition to those basic tools, you may choose others like chalk or oil pastels or any other supplies you have. These activities are open-ended. Think of them as ideas to spark your imagination. Now I'll show you one of my favorite ways to make a sketchbook. This is called a Japanese stab binding technique. It's easy, but little ones will need some help. Here's what you need. A large eye blunt end needle, strong thread, yarn or twine, a hole punch, drawing paper, approximately 18 to 20 sheets, cardstock, construction, or other sturdy kind of cover paper for the front and back, the same size as the drawing paper. Let's watch now. Let's make a sketchbook. Here's one easy way. If you don't have one already, this is a fun way. Just need some drawing paper. Needs to be a little thicker than like computer paper, so sturdy enough to draw on. Fold it in half, crease it. This is the way I do it. And then you're going to need to punch holes. So I've already punched all but this last piece to save time. If you punch one, get one measured out and use it as a template, you can measure from that and put that on top of each of your pieces and poke the holes after marking them. So you do this with every piece of paper that you're going to include in your sketchbook. I included 18 pieces of paper so that I have 36 actually pages. So I'm using a stiffer paper. This is a watercolor paper for my covers. So you do the same thing. You make sure that it fits what we call the book block, that's your stack of paper. And measure and draw the holes, poke the holes. Oops, sorry. I'm holding away from the camera. There we go. And put the one cover on top. The second cover, of course, is the back cover. And you could make this cover out of construction paper or even like cardboard or cardstock. You be creative, whatever kind of cover you want on your sketchbook. So now we're making sure they're all stacked pretty evenly, and you have holes all the way through. Kind of clean up your mess. And then you need some kind of thread, some sort of sturdy thread, not like sewing thread, but I am actually a weaver, so I have lots of different kinds of yarns and threads around my house. You can use yarn. This is a thread that's very strong. Sometimes you can find this in a hardware store. Then you need a needle that has a big opening that's called the eye of the needle so that your yarn or your thread will go through. Make sure it's not super sharp because you don't want to poke yourself. Then you're going to measure your thread. So you take your thread and extend it out about an inch or so on either side, and then count 5 times. So that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's really important that you don't do less than that, because you need enough thread to stitch, because we're going to stitch the book together. So thread through the needle, whether you're using yarn or thread, whatever kind of stitching material you're going to use. And make sure that you have enough so it doesn't slip out while you're stitching. Now you're going to take the book block and clip it together with a big paper clip or some kind of a clip that you have that will hold the whole book block together while you stitch. Don't want it wiggling around. So take your needle and the different parts of the book we have. So we have back, the front, the spine is the side of the book, and we're going to start stitching from putting the needle from the back to the front, and it's important that you leave at least 5 inches of a tail. So that tail is about the length, about half the length of the book, and that's really important for the end, so you'll see. So leave that hanging out, don't pull it all the way through. Go around the bottom of the book, around the spine, and now there's that tail. Don't let it get stuck in there. Now you're on the front, so from the front to the back, around the spine, now your thread is on the back, so go from back to front, around the spine. Now your thread is on the front, so go from front to back, around the spine, from back to front, around the spine, around the top, and back through that same hole. And now you have the whole spine stitched. But we have some spaces, don't we, between the holes from on the front of the book and on the back of the book. And there's that important tail. We're going to stitch those spaces now. We don't go around the spine anymore. We're just going from front to back, and then from back to front through those same holes, and then from front to back. Now we're going to turn our book over where that tail is. See that tail? We're going to cut our thread about the same length, doesn't have to be exact, and tie. We tie those two ends of the thread together in a knot. I do a double knot. You might need some help with knots if you haven't made knots before. So hold it tight against the book so it doesn't slip and loosen up your threads. Because these threads, and there's my double knot, these threads are what's holding the book together. You can trim the tail, but don't trim it closer than an inch or 2. I like to leave mine long because sometimes I like to thread some beads on the end of it or somehow use it as part of the decoration of my book. Now you're ready to decorate. You can decorate your book front and back. I like to open my cover pages and crease them so they open real easy, so that before I start sketching. You can do that with more pages too, just to make it easy to open, but you can also do that as you draw. So design your front and back covers however you want. And now you are ready to doodle and draw and have fun.